Today, we're digging into India's latest economic survey, and let me tell you, it's a fascinating read. It tells the story of a powerful economy that's absolutely hitting its stride, only to discover that the global rules of the game have been completely flipped on their head. So let's get right into it. So if you just look at the surface, India's economy looks like it's on fire, showing remarkable strength. But if you look a little closer, you start to see this strange and frankly dangerous puzzle that policymakers are now trying to solve in what feels like an increasingly uncertain world. Okay, so let's start with the good news, because there's a lot of it. The survey paints a really clear picture. By pretty much every traditional metric you can think of, India's economy is doing incredibly well. I mean, the sheer number of positive signs here is pretty remarkable. You've got real GDP growth clocking in at over 7%. S&P gave the country its first major credit rating upgrade in 2 decades. The fiscal deficit slashed. Inflation is under control and the banks are healthy. And all of this is happening on top of huge structural reforms. It's basically a textbook example of a strong, well-managed economy. And this isn't just some short-term sugar high. The government is so confident, in fact, that it's officially revised its long-term potential growth rate up to 7%. That signals a real belief that this performance is built to last. So, with all this good news, you'd think India would be just reaping the rewards on the global stage, right? Well, that's where this story takes a really sharp turn. And this brings us right to the heart of the paradox, what the survey itself calls the wrinkle in the ointment. This is where that simple positive story starts to get, well, complicated. So here's the central mystery. With such amazing economic fundamentals, you'd expect the Indian rupee to be strong, to be stable, and to be attracting tons of foreign investment. But it's not. The survey actually asks, point blank, why the currency is punching below its weight. Why isn't the global market rewarding India for doing everything right? And this really lays out the conflict perfectly. On one side, you have all of India's internal strengths, fantastic growth, solid governance. But on the other side, you've got these powerful global headwinds, things like trade wars and geopolitical chaos. It's almost like India is trying to run a race uphill against a fierce wind. The survey itself just sums it up so perfectly. All the hard work, all the right policy moves, they've slammed right into a new global reality where, the old rules just don't seem to apply anymore. Getting your own house in order is no longer a guarantee of stability. So what's the diagnosis for this strange situation? Well, this survey points to a really fundamental gap between India's economic size and its actual real-world strategic influence on the world stage. And this number right here is pretty stark. The Lowy Institute's Power Gap Index gives India a score of -4, which is one of the lowest in Asia. What that means is, despite its huge economy and population, India's ability to actually shape global events is still lagging way behind. It's basically underperforming in the game of geopolitics. So the survey drills down into a few key vulnerabilities that are causing this gap. First, there's a dependence on foreign money, which makes the economy jumpy when investors get nervous. Then there's the historical lesson. The world's strongest currencies are always built on top-tier manufacturing, and that's an area India is still working on. And finally, the whole global trade system has changed. It's not just about what's cheapest anymore. It's about national security. And looking ahead, the survey maps out 3 pretty challenging global scenarios. The 2 most likely ones are either managed disorder or a full-on disorderly breakdown. And then there's the scary tail risk of a systemic shock cascade, which could be even worse than the 2008 financial crisis. The big takeaway here is that India has to get ready for a world that is just permanently unstable. So, how do you even navigate a world like that? The survey argues that India needs a completely new playbook, a total shift in its strategic mindset. I absolutely love this metaphor. It just perfectly captures the challenge. India needs the endurance for a massive long-term transformation. That's the marathon. But at the same time, it needs the speed and the urgency to react to a volatile world and close that power gap. And that's the sprint. It has to do both at the exact same time. A huge part of this new playbook is this idea of the entrepreneurial state. Now, this isn't about the government running businesses. Think of it more like a government that acts like a venture capitalist. It makes smart bets on the future, it takes calculated risks to build up strategic industries like semiconductors or green hydrogen, and it learns really fast from its wins and its losses. And the ultimate goal of all of this is actually pretty profound. It's about shifting the entire government from a culture of compliance, just following the rules, to a culture of capability, one that is totally focused on getting things done and building tangible strength. It's about moving from procedure to purpose. And all of this builds to a final, really powerful choice. The survey frames this not just as an economic problem, but as a challenge for the entire nation. But look, achieving this kind of strategic strength isn't just the government's job. It needs a massive effort from everyone. A more capable state, for sure, but also a private sector that's willing to compete globally instead of hiding at home. And, crucially, citizens who are willing to support tough, long-term decisions over what's easy right now. The survey ends with this timeless piece of wisdom. The choice for India is between what's called Shreya, the enduring good that comes from making hard choices, and Preya, the fleeting comfort of the easy way out. In this incredibly volatile new world, which path will it choose? That really is the question at the very heart of this entire economic story.